The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show. The Right Side is now upon you. I'm Doug Billings. Thanks for being here. Listen, before we go any further, homework assignment for you guys. Head over to YouTube, subscribe at The Right Side, Doug Billings. Those are your marching orders. You're going to want to get content like this because what happens here is important. People who watch the show become, for example, members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast and radio land. Now, ladies and gentlemen, chaos. Chaos is not the end goal. It's not the end game. It's not the end state of the radical left. Chaos is a tool that they use to get to their desired end state. And chaos does not mean collapse. It means something is being exposed when we see chaos. And that distinction matters more right now in America, ladies and gentlemen, given what we are going through in this republic. Because when people are told that chaos equals collapse, they panic. And panic is the enemy of clarity. And right now, above all else, we need clarity. You and I, we need to be clear about what we're doing, about what we see, what the state of play in America is. And panic is not our friend. What you're witnessing across America today and this week and this month is the failure of truth. What you're witnessing today across America this week, this month, this year, this decade is not the failure of truth. It is not. It is the failure of the lies that have been told us to try to hold together the radical left agenda in this country. And when the lies collapse, that's when things get loud. That's when the chaos begins to ring out. All they need on the radical left is a fuse to light the chaos. They did it with George Floyd. Now they've done it with Renee Good. Power does not panic when it's winning, ladies and gentlemen. Power panics when control begins to slip away. And right now, across institutions, across narratives, across politics, across our culture, power is panicking. If everything were going according to the liberal plan in America, this radical commu-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party's plan, there would be no calls to riot. There would be no George Soros-funded mobs storming the streets, having pallets of rocks, bricks, and stones delivered to street corners so that they could be thrown through storefront windows. There would be no coordinated messaging. There would be no endless emergencies. And there would be no comply from them to us, or pressure, I should say, to comply from them to us immediately or emotionally and without debate. Healthy systems, healthy political parties do not fear questions. They do not fear the questioning of motives. Stable institutions, stable political parties don't silence dissent. They welcome debate. When those things appear, fear, silence, pressure to emotionally shut down, when they want to try to exhaust you, when those things begin to appear, it's not the strength of any party that you're seeing, it is fragility that you're seeing. Chaos is not collapse. It is exposure. Think of it like that. Exposure always feels loud right before it actually becomes liberating. The part most shows out there and most talking heads, most commentators never explain is that chaos is not the goal of the radical left. Chaos is their tool, and it's used to exhaust you, to wear you down, to confuse the moral lines of our society, to make people long and wish that we had law and order, all the while purposefully trying to destroy law and order at any cost. That's how liberty is traded away. It's not by force necessarily. It's by fatigue. It's by making you tired. It's wearing you down, making you scream and become impatient for arrests and perp walks and vengeance. When a story that you've been told for decades, think about it. A story that you've been told for decades stops working. You don't calmly adjust. You overreact. You double down, you escalate, maybe you punish the dissenters, you smear your opponents. And that's what happens when legitimacy collapses faster than authority can enforce obedience. And authority without legitimacy always fails. Always. And words are important. Something unexpected has happened here. The people of America have not been broken. We've been awakened. Americans started asking questions again. We noticed that temporary measures put in place by the political elite never seem to end, do they? We've noticed that accountability only seems to flow in one direction. We've noticed that the rules always seem to change, but always for us. And once we start noticing the patterns in all of this, that is when the spell dies. That's why escalation, when you see it out there, does not mean victory. And it means time is running out of their narratives. They are running out of time. Their narratives are expiring, and quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to panic. Panic is the enemy of clarity. This moment that we're in right now in America, what we see in Minnesota, what we see across the country, does not call for rage. It calls for calm reserve. Because calm people, as it turns out, are very difficult to manipulate. Really. And the future doesn't belong to those people who are the loudest. It belongs to those people who are steadfast in their calm resolve to save the republic and return it to the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. America has been through far worse situations in America. Let me say it again. America has been through far worse situations. Trust me. History tells us so. What makes this moment feel different to us, it's not the danger. It's not the riots, the arson, the anarchy. It's the awakening. That's what's different. We are awakening in numbers that are astronomical. For a long time, Americans outsourced our responsibility, especially us conservatives. Think about it. We outsourced our responsibilities. We trusted systems instead of principles. We trusted comfort instead of courage. We didn't get involved as thoroughly as we should have in our local levels of government. We didn't always vote. We didn't become members of school boards and boards of county commissions and so forth and so on. But the radical left did. And now we see it around us. The era of conservative patriots not being involved in their local levels of government is over. Not because any kind of politician changed, but it's because we the people changed. So when you see chaos, don't ask the question, well, I wonder what's falling apart. Instead, ask, I wonder what's being revealed. Because that's why the chaos is being cascaded down upon us by the radical left. What's being changed or what's being revealed? Because what's being revealed right now in America is this. Many institutions that we have out there were hollow long before today, long before, but they survived because of inertia. But inertia doesn't last forever. In fact, it only lasts as long as until people begin to push back. And that's how free people endure. That's how republics survive. Many of us we believe in America first. We want the MAGA movement to continue, and it will. We don't pin all of our hopes on Donald Trump. We love him. I think he's the most substantial president this nation has ever had. We also understand, however, that our involvement involves rights that come to us from God himself. And we don't honor God when we don't participate in those rights that he's given us. Take voting, for example. So many people were frustrated at the election integrity issues that we have in this country, and there are many. But we don't abandon the right that came to us from God to vote. Well, I'm not going to vote in the system, Doug, because it's rigged, and my vote doesn't mean anything, so I'm going to sit this one out. Or, have you seen the lines? I'm not going to go vote. It's just too long. I don't want to wait in line for 3 hours. So neither of those, I have empathy for those points of view. I understand those points of view. Those points of view do not honor God because they've refused to participate in the rights that he's given us. And they don't, by the way, honor the men who have gone to the battlefield and died to protect your rights that come to you from God. So we as conservatives always face adversity, challenge, and tragedy, whether it's a riot in Minneapolis or whether it is election integrity. And we march through it, we get through it, and we support one another. But we have got to become involved. People have always asked. This month marks 6 years since I started doing this show. And I've heard a long time ago when I started this show, and since then, what's the plan? Doug, what do you think the plan really is out there? The plan has always been this: we the people. Calm, resolve, not panic because it affects our decision-making. Calm, resolve. We do not demand immediacy with regards to justice. Impatience and justice don't mix. If you put forth impatience with justice, you're going to get cases that are thrown out and overturned. Just like every one of the liberal cases that was arrayed against President Trump and his colleagues in Inner Circle. We endure because we have each other's back, because we see with clarity and calm reserve, ladies and gentlemen. That's the answer to the liberal agenda. They are panicking. They are failing. Their agenda has been discovered. We are awake at long last. Give yourselves permission to believe that. Please head over to YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Follow my channel over there. Subscribe to it. At the right side, Doug Billings. At the right side, Doug Billings. Click the bell so that you can get notifications over on YouTube when I drop new content. And as I say, we are in this together, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.